He said, "Which are the 1,000 that accompany each of them?" The Blessed One said, "Sundari is accompanied by 1,000, Shamkha is accompanied by 1,000, Vahanti is accompanied by 1,000, Chitrasena is accompanied by 1,000, and Dharmavarti is accompanied by 1,000. Sarvashura, these great rivers each possess 1,000 accompanying rivers. They let fall a stream of rain onto the planet Earth. Sarvashura, they release streams of raindrops from time to time, and this produces flowers and fruits and crops. When the streams of rain are released onto the planet Earth, water will be produced. By the water that is produced, fields and gardens are all satiated and made happy. Sarvashura, it is as follows. To make an analogy, the Lord of living beings makes all the planet Earth happy. Likewise, Sarvashura, this Sanghata Dharma Pariyaya is explained on earth for the benefit of many beings and for the happiness of many beings. The lifespan of humans is not like the lifespan of the Devas of the 33. If you should ask who are the Devas of the 33, Sarvashura, those who dwell where Indra, the Lord of the Devas, dwells, are called the 33. Sarvashura, there are also sentient beings who engage in good verbal conduct, and it is impossible to make an analogy for their mass of merit too. There are also sentient beings who engage in faulty verbal conduct, and it is impossible to make an analogy for their hell and animal rebirths. Those sentient beings who come to experience the sufferings of hell beings, animals, and pretas have no refuge whatsoever. Their hopes having been dashed there, they lament and fall into hells. They should be seen as under the power of non-virtuous friends. And those sentient beings who engage in good verbal conduct and for whose mass of merit it is impossible to make an analogy, they should be seen as under the power of virtuous friends. When one sees a virtuous friend, a Tathagata is seen. When one sees a Tathagata, all one's wickedness is purified. When the Lord of beings causes joy on earth, it will be impossible to make an analogy for the happiness of the sentient beings on earth. Sarvashura, likewise, this Sanghata Dharma Pariyaya too performs the functions of a Buddha for the sentient beings of the planet Earth. Anyone who has not heard the Sanghata Dharma Pariyaya is unable to be completely enlightened in the unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment. They are unable to turn the wheel of Dharma. They are unable to beat the gong of the Dharma. They are unable to sit on the lion throne of the Dharma. They are unable to enter the sphere of Nirvana. They are unable to illuminate with countless light rays. Sarvashura, likewise, those who have not heard the Sanghata Dharma Pariyaya are also unable to sit in the heart of enlightenment. Sarvashura said, "Blessed One, may I ask about a certain wonder?" Sugata, may I ask about a certain wonder? The Blessed One said, "Sarvashura, ask whatever you wish, and I will clear away your doubts." He said, "Who was that sage who liberated those sentient beings from the karma of the 5 uninterrupted actions, and then placed them one by one on the level of one who will never turn away?" He said, "The speech of Buddhas is profound. Sarvashura, listen to me. The Sanghata Sutra is a teacher manifesting in the form of a sage. The Sanghata manifests out of kindness even bodies of Buddhas. As many grains of sand as a Ganges holds, in just that many forms it teaches. It teaches in the form of a Buddha. It teaches even the essence of Dharma. Who wishes to see a Buddha, Sanghata is equivalent to a Buddha. Wherever the Sanghata is, always there the Buddha is." The Blessed One said, "Child of the lineage, listen. Sarvashura, at a time long past, 99 countless eons ago, there arose 12 million Buddhas. When the Tathagata Ratnottama arose, I became courageous in giving and honored 12 million Buddhas with the name of Chandra. I attended them with food, drink, fragrance, garlands, lotions, whatever pleased them, good meals, and everything required for their comfort. And having attended them thus, I recall attaining their prediction of unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment. Sarvashura, I recall that there arose 18 million Buddhas named Ratnavabhasa. At that time, too, having become courageous in giving, I honored 18 million Tathagatas with the name of Garbhasena, with fragrance, garlands, lotions, ornaments, and decorative attire, as was appropriate to each, and having done so, I attained thereto a prediction of unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment. Sarvashura, I recall 20 million Buddhas, and every one of those Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, was named Shikisambhava. Sarvashura, I recall 20 million Buddhas, and every one of those Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, was named Shiksambhava. Sarvashura, I recall 20 million Buddhas, and every one of those Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, was named Kashyapa. At that time, too, having become courageous in giving, I revered the Tathagatas with fragrance, garlands, and lotions, and then I offered them reverential service in the way that service should be offered reverentially to Tathagatas, and there, too, I attained a prediction of unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment. Sarvashura, there arose 16 million Buddhas named Buddha Vimalaprabhasa, and at that time I was a rich head of household with great wealth and possessions. Having renounced all possessions, I offered those 16 million Buddhas reverential service with offerings of sitting cloths, garments, fragrance, garlands, lotions, and blankets, just as reverential service should be offered to Tathagatas. And at that very time I attained a prediction of unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment. This too I remember, but the prediction's exact time had not yet arrived. Sarvashura, listen. 95 million Buddhas arose in the world, and each and every one of those Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas was named Shakyamuni. I at that time had become a righteous Dharma king, and honored those 95 million Tathagatas named Shakyamuni with fragrance, garlands, lotions, sitting cloths, garments, incense, banners, and pennants. And at that very time I attained a prediction of unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment. This I remember. Sarvashura, there arose in the world 90 million Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, named Krakatsunda, and at that time I was a rich young Brahmin with much wealth and possessions. Having renounced all possessions, I honored all those Tathagatas with fragrance, garlands, lotions, sitting cloths, and garments. And having offered service to those Tathagatas as was appropriate to each individually, at that very time I attained a prediction of unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment. This too I remember, but I had not arrived at the prediction's exact time. Sarvashura, there arose in the world 18 million Buddhas, and as for all of them, every one of those Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, was named Kanakamuni. At that time, having become courageous in giving, I honored all those Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, with fragrance, garlands, lotions, sitting cloths, clothing, and ornaments. I offered them service in the way that service should be offered to Tathagatas, and at that very time I also remember attaining a prediction of unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment, but I had not arrived at the prediction's exact time. Sarvashura, there arose in the world 13 million Buddhas, and as for all of them, every one of those Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, was named Avabhasa Shri. I honored those Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, with sitting cloths, garments, fragrance, garlands, lotions, blankets, and ornaments. I offered them reverential service in the way that reverential service should be offered to Tathagatas. Those Tathagatas also explained various approaches to the Dharma to ascertain its meanings and the discipline, and then at that very time I attained a prediction of unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment. This too I remember, but the prediction's time had not yet arrived then either. Sarvashura, there arose in the world 25 million Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas named Pushya. At that time I was a renunciate and honored those Tathagatas. As Ananda offers me service now, likewise I offered service to those Tathagatas, and there I attained a prediction of unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment. This I remember, but the prediction's time had not yet arrived then either. Sarvashura, there arose in the world 12 million Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas named Vipashin. I honored those Tathagatas with sitting cloths, garments, fragrance, garlands, and lotions. I offered them service in the way that service should be offered to Tathagatas. At that time, at that moment, having become a renunciate, right there I also remember attaining a prediction of unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment. Soon thereafter, the last Vipashin to arrive explained this Sankhata Dharma Paryaya, and I knew that, and then at that time a rain of the 7 precious substances showered down upon the planet Earth, and then there was no more poverty among the sentient beings on Earth. At that very time I attained a prediction of unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment. After that, for a long period of time I was not predicted. He said, "What was that time? What was the measure?" The Blessed One said, "Sarvashuddha, listen. A countless eon after that, the Tathagata, Arhat, perfect and complete Buddha Dipamkara arose in the world. At that time, at that moment, I was a Brahmin youth named Megha. At the time when Tathagata Dipamkara arose in the world, I was practicing celibacy in the form of a Brahmin youth. Then, when I had seen Tathagata Dipamkara, I scattered 7 Utpala flowers and dedicated to unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment, and that Tathagata predicted to me, 'Brahmin youth, in the future, in a countless eon, you will become a Tathagata, Arhat, perfect and complete Buddha in the world, named Shakyamuni.' After that, Sarvashuddha, I sat in the space above at a height of 12 palmyra trees and attained the state of forbearance with regard to unproduced phenomena. Just as if it were yesterday or today, I remember directly all those roots of virtue from when I practiced celibacy for countless eons and was endowed with the perfections. Furthermore, Sarvashuddha, I established countless hundreds of thousands of myriad millions of sentient beings individually in virtuous dharma. Therefore, Sarvashuddha, now having been manifestly completely enlightened into unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment, what need is there to mention that I wish to benefit all sentient beings? Sarvashuddha, I teach the Dharma in many ways to sentient beings. Whatever the form by which they are to be subdued, I teach the Dharma in that form. In the world of the Devas, I teach the Dharma in the form of a Deva. In the land of the Nagas, I teach the Dharma in the form of a Naga. In the land of the Yakshas, I teach the Dharma in the form of a Yaksha. In the land of the Pretas, I teach the Dharma in the form of a Preta. In the world of humans, I teach the Dharma in the form of a human. To those sentient beings who are to be subdued by a Buddha, I teach the Dharma in the form of a Buddha. To those sentient beings who are to be subdued by a Bodhisattva, I teach the Dharma in the form of a Bodhisattva. By whatever form it is that sentient beings are to be subdued, I teach the Dharma in that very form. Thus, Sarvashuddha, I teach the Dharma to sentient beings in many ways. If one should wonder why that is, Sarvashuddha, it is because just as sentient beings hear the Dharma in many ways, so too those sincere sentient beings will make roots of virtue in many ways. They will engage in acts of generosity. They will make merit. They will also go without sleep for their own sake. They will meditate on the mindfulness of death too. They will do such virtuous actions as these that are to be done. Due to having heard the Dharma, they will remember these previous roots of virtue. That will come to be for the long-term aim, benefit, and happiness of devas and humans. Sarvashuddha, that being so, as soon as the Sanghata Dharma Paryaya is heard, the good qualities and benefits in this way become immeasurable. Then those sentient beings spoke to one another. They said, "There must be something else also that, by having done and accumulated it, one will be manifestly completely enlightened in the unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment, and the result of the virtuous dharma of wanting to benefit all sentient beings will ripen." Those who have come to trust in the Dharma will say, "There is a Dharma perfectly in accord with things as they are." The great ripening result of their virtue will be the unsurpassed happiness of the Dharma. As for the ignorant, foolish sentient beings who say that there aren't any Dharmas and there is no passing beyond the Dharmas either, their great ripening result will be to go to bad migrations. Again and again they will be aiming for grounds of bad migrations. For 8 eons they will experience the suffering sensations of the hell realms. For 12 eons they will experience the suffering sensations in the lands of Pretas. For 16 eons they will be born among the Asuras. For 9,000 eons they will be born among the harmful Bhutas and Pishachas. For 14,000 eons they will be without tongues. For 16,000 eons they will die in their mother's womb. For 12,000 eons they will become round lumps of flesh. For 11,000 eons they will be born blind and will experience suffering sensations, and their parents will think, "We have suffered meaninglessly. The birth of our son was meaningless. Bearing him in the womb for 9 months was meaningless." They will experience the sensation of cold and heat. They will also experience the suffering of hunger and thirst intensely. They will experience many sufferings in this life as well. Although the parents see a son in their house, there is no joy, and the parents' hopes will be utterly dashed. Sarvashuddha, in this way, sentient beings who abandon the holy Dharma are aiming for hell and animal rebirths. At their time of death, they will be pierced with great agonizing pains. Sarvashuddha, those who say, the Dharma exists, there are those who go beyond the Dharmas, will be born in the north on Uttarakuru for 20 eons by that root of virtue. For 25 eons they will be born equal in fortune to the Devas of the 33. When they die and transmigrate from the 33, they will be born in the north on Uttarakuru. They will not be born in a mother's womb. They will see 100,000 world systems, and these will all be called Sukhavati. They will see all the Buddha fields as well. After seeing them, they will abide right there in them. They will be enlightened in perfect and complete enlightenment right there. Sarvashuddha, thus indeed this Samghata Dharma Pariyaya has great power. Those who have a mind inspired with pure faith toward it will never meet their moment of death without having let go of their fears. They will also be endowed with perfectly pure ethics. Sarvashuddha, there are some sentient beings who say, the Tathagata releases many sentient beings day and night, and yet the realm of sentient beings still has not been depleted. Many make prayers for enlightenment. Many are born in the worlds of higher rebirths. Many achieve nirvana. So why is it that the realm of sentient beings has not been depleted? The heretical practitioners of other traditions, wandering mendicants, and naked ascetics had this thought, let us go dispute with the renunciate Gautama. Then 84,000 Brahmins, heretical practitioners of other traditions, and wandering mendicants, and many hundreds of naked ascetics arrived there in Rajagriha. And at that time, at that moment, the Blessed One displayed a smile. At that, the Bodhisattva, the great being Maitreya, arose from his seat, placed his upper robe over one shoulder, set his right knee on the ground, and bowed down with palms together toward the Blessed One. He addressed the Blessed One as follows. Blessed One, since Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas do not smile without cause and without conditions, what is the cause of the smile and what is the condition? The Blessed One said, Child of the lineage, listen. Today a great assembly will appear here in Rajagriha. Blessed One, who will be here? Devas, or Nagas, or Yakshas, or humans, or non-humans? The Blessed One said, Maitreya, today Devas, Nagas, Yakshas, humans, and non-humans will all come here. 84,000 Brahmins will also come here. 9,000 million heretical practitioners, wandering mendicants, and naked ascetics will come, and they will dispute with me. I will teach the Dharma to pacify the disputes of all of them. The Brahmins will all generate the thought of unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment. The 9,000 million heretical practitioners, wandering mendicants, and naked ascetics will all attain the fruit of stream entry. 18,000 million Naga kings will come, and they will hear the Dharma from me. After they have heard it, they will all generate the thought of unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment. 60,000 million children of the Devas of the pure abodes will come. 30,000 million wicked Maras and their attendants will come. 12,000 million Asura kings will come. Kings 500 in number, together with their retinues, will come to hear the Dharma. After hearing the Dharma from me, they will all generate the thought of unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment. At that, the Bodhisattva, the great being Maitreya, prostrated with his head at the feet of the Blessed One, and after circumambulating the Blessed One 3 times, disappeared on that very spot. At that, the Bodhisattva, the great being Sarvashuddha, arose from his seat, placed his upper robe over one shoulder, set his right knee on the ground, placed his palms together, and bowed down to the Blessed One. He said to the Blessed One, Blessed One, what are the names of those kings, 500 in number? The Blessed One said, Sarvashuddha, listen. There is the king called Nanda, the king called Upananda, the king called Jinnarshabha, the king called Brahmasena, the king called Brahmaghorsha, the king called Sudarshana, the king called Priyasena, the king called Nandasena, the king called Bimbisara, the king called Prasenajit, and the king called Virudhaka. There are these and the rest of the kings, 500 number, and each of them has 100,000 million attendants. With the exception of Virudhaka, each and every one of them has set out for unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment. "30,000 million bodhisattvas are coming from the eastern direction. 50,000 million bodhisattvas are coming from the southern direction. 60,000 million bodhisattvas are coming from the western direction. 80,000 million bodhisattvas are coming from the northern direction. 90,000 million bodhisattvas are coming from below. 100,000 million bodhisattvas are coming from above, and each and every one of them is abiding on the 10 grounds. Then, in order to see the Blessed One, all those bodhisattvas proceeded to Rajagriha to where the Blessed One was. And all those bodhisattvas, each and every one, had set out for unsurpassed perfect and complete enlightenment. Then the Blessed One said to the Bodhisattva, the great being Sarvashuddha, Sarvashuddha, go to the world systems of the 10 directions and say to all the bodhisattvas, today in the great city of Rajagriha the Tathagata is teaching the Dharma. Therefore, all you residents of the world systems in the 10 directions, place your palms together and bow down in homage. Say this, and as soon as you have made it understood, come back immediately to listen to the Dharma. At that, the Bodhisattva, the great being Sarvashuddha, arose from his seat, prostrated with his head at the feet of the Blessed One, circumambulated the Blessed One 3 times, and then disappeared through supernatural powers. Then the Bodhisattva, the great being Sarvashuddha, went to the world systems of the 10 directions and instructed the Bodhisattvas. Today, in the great city of Rajagriha, the Tathagata is teaching the Dharma. Therefore, you should reply to that, excellent, and on account of that, on this very day, you will receive benefit and attain great bliss. Then, having gone to the world systems of the 10 directions, the Bodhisattva, the great being Sarvashuddha, honored all the Buddhas and informed the Bodhisattvas. And in just the amount of time as, for example, a strong person snapping their fingers, the Bodhisattva, the great being Sarvashuddha, arrived in the great city of Rajagriha where the Blessed One was, and was present before the Blessed One. Then the Brahmins, heretical practitioners of other traditions, wandering mendicants, and naked ascetics also gathered. Devas, Nagas, Yakshas, many human beings, the kings, 500 in number, together with their attendants, and 33,000 million wicked Maras, together with their attendants, also gathered. And at that time the great city of Rajagriha trembled. A shower of celestial sandalwood powder rained down on the world systems in the 10 directions, and a shower of celestial flowers also rained down and remained in a towering palace at the level of the topknot on the crown of the Blessed One's head. Also at that time Indra, the lord of the Devas, wielded a thunderbolt in the presence of the Tathagata. Then at that time from the 4 directions 4 massive winds stirred up the earth. After they rose up, they carried off the garbage, sweepings, and dust from the great city of Rajagriha. A shower of fragrant waters rained down on the world systems of the 10 directions. A shower of utpala flowers, lotuses, kumuda flowers, and white lotuses rained down on the world systems of the 10 directions, and they all remained as flower canopies above the heads of all those sentient beings. 84,000 towering palaces remained motionless in the space above the crown of the head of the Tathagata. Within the 84,000 towering palaces there arose 84,000 thrones made of the 7 precious substances. On all of those thrones Tathagatas are seated and teach the Dharma. Then this galaxy of 1 billion world systems trembled in 6 ways. At that, the Bodhisattva, the great being Sarvashuddha, placed his palms together, bowed toward the Blessed One, and said to the Blessed One, Blessed One, what is the cause, what is the condition for the display of such supernatural apparitions here in the great city of Rajagriha? The Blessed One said, it is as follows. To make an analogy, a king rubbed the head of some unstable man, wild, full of ego-grasping, full of selfish grasping at things as his own, and also poverty-stricken. That man went up to the king's gate. Once he arrived there, he insistently wished to enter inside the palace of the king. At that, the king's ministers and retinue seized him and beat him in many ways. Then at that moment, the king heard that the destitute man insistently wanted to enter inside and thought, he is undoubtedly someone wishing to kill me. Thinking that, the king became angry and said to his retinue, you, take that man to a secluded mountain spot and kill him. Kill all his servants, parents, children, male and female slaves, and workers too. After he had issued these instructions, they were all killed, and then his friends and relatives were pierced with unbearable agonizing pains. In the same way too, as soon as the Tathagata, Arhat, perfect and complete Buddha, explains the Dharma, just like that arrogant person, Childish ordinary individuals also, with respect to the Tathagata, seize upon the form, color, marks, and shape as identifying signs, and think it is the body of the Tathagata. Then, after they have heard many Dharma teachings, they fall into exceptional arrogance and speak all kinds of nonsense. Overcome by ego-grasping and selfish grasping at things as their own, they do not themselves listen to this sort of dharma, nor do they proclaim it. Even when someone is explaining a sutra or a verse, or as little as just an analogy, they say, "We ourselves know," and they do not retain it, nor do they lend their ears to listen. If one should wonder why that is, it is because they have become full of arrogance in this way. Because of their extensive learning, they are not attentive. Those who keep company with childish ordinary individuals will not act to become endowed with this sort of dharma. They will not listen to words endowed with this sort of dharma. Due to their extensive learning, they become conceited. People like these publish their own compositions. They publish the prefaces to their own texts, too. They deceive themselves and the whole world. They pointlessly consume public resources, and having consumed them, they do not digest them well. At their time of death, great fears will arise. Those sentient beings will say to that one, "You have trained us in many crafts. Why are you not able to settle yourself?" He said this to them, "Friends, I am unable to settle myself now." At that, those sentient beings will lament and wail in various ways. Just as, with no one else to blame, through the contributing cause of their own actions, the large group of relatives was killed for the aims of only that one person, so too these sentient beings at their time of death will also lament and wail, and they will see themselves aiming towards rebirths as hell beings and animals on account of a non-virtuous friend. In the same way, I say to you Brahmins and heretical practitioners of other traditions, don't become haughty. It is as follows. To make an analogy, without having grown feathers and wings, a bird cannot fly into the sky to go to the world of the Devas. In the same way, you cannot reach nirvana either, as you do not have that sort of supernatural power. If one should wonder why, it is because after one is born in a fowl's rebirth through a type of karma, in no time at all this body will disintegrate and die in the end. At the time of death, after they have lost their sense of taste, they will be thoroughly terrified, thinking, "Why did we hold on to this body? We have not experienced the happiness of the Deva world or the happiness of the human world either, and we will not abide in the abode of nirvana either. Since we pointlessly held on to this body, what is our migration path? Who will be our support? Where will be our birth, and where will be our destruction?" Then the Blessed One said to those heretical practitioners of other traditions, wandering mendicants, and naked ascetics, "Do not give up hope on this precious planet Earth. Do not become outsiders to the rare and excellent gem that is the Dharma. Friends, ask the Tathagata whatever you wish, and I will completely fulfill all your wishes." At that, all the Brahmins, heretical practitioners of other traditions, wandering mendicants, and naked ascetics arose from their seats, placed their upper robes over one shoulder, and with palms together asked the Blessed One, "Blessed One, although Tathagatas have been releasing sentient beings from cyclic existence day and night, there is neither a decrease nor an increase in the realm of sentient beings. Blessed One, due to what cause and what condition do sentient beings display birth and cessation equally?" Then the Blessed One said to the Bodhisattva, the great being Paisajasena, "In order to clear away great regret and in order to set ablaze the lamp of the Dharma, the heretics put on great armor and ask a great series of questions. In the future, young and old sentient beings will understand birth and disintegration. Paisajasena, there are also old sentient beings who, like young beings, do not know anything at all. Paisajasena, it is as follows. To make an analogy, some person washed his hair, put on new clothes, and went outside his home. People said to him, "You wear your new clothes well." But another person also washed his head and washed his old clothes, and because they were old, although he had washed his hair, that man was not beautiful. Just as his clothes were not beautiful, so, Paisajasena, the old sentient beings that are on the planet Earth are not beautiful, and the young sentient beings display birth and cessation.